When people imagine modern warfare, they picture fighter jets, stealth bombers, or hypersonic missiles streaking across the sky. But none of those weapons matter if they can't get to the battlefield. Tanks don't teleport. Troops don't appear out of thin air. Ammunition, fuel, medical teams, and spare parts all have to move, often across open oceans, into broken runways, under the threat of enemy missiles. And that job belongs to a class of aircraft that almost never gets the spotlight: strategic airlifters. These are the machines that turn a nation's industrial base into battlefield power. They are the bridge between factories and front lines. Without them, even the most advanced military becomes immobile. And in the 21st century, that bridge is being contested more than ever. Two aircraft define this fight more than any others: America's Boeing C-17 Globemaster III and Russia's Ilyushin 76, especially in its modernized MD-90A form. They look similar at a glance: big wings, high tails, 4 engines, a cavernous cargo bay. But they come from two very different philosophies about how wars are fought, how logistics survive, and what happens when everything goes wrong. To understand why these aircraft matter so much, you first have to understand what strategic airlift really is. Strategic airlifters are not about flying far or flying fast. They are about moving weight. 40 tons, 60 tons, 70 tons, entire armored vehicles, helicopters, bridge sections, field hospitals, and doing it from runways that might be damaged, short, muddy, or barely exist at all. Tactical transports like the C-130 or A-400M can handle 20 or 30 tons. Strategic lifters live in a different universe. They are designed to move the backbone of an army. That backbone has only grown heavier over time. A modern American Abrams tank weighs more than 60 tons. A single Patriot missile battery fills multiple transport aircraft. A mechanized brigade requires thousands of tons of equipment just to deploy. And in a peer conflict, there is no luxury of slow buildup. Whoever moves faster sets the tempo of the war. That is why the C-17 exists. The C-17 Globemaster III was designed in the final years of the Cold War, when the US realized it needed something that could replace both the aging C-141 and part of the heavy C-5 fleet. The goal was radical: an aircraft that could carry strategic payloads across continents, but also land on short, rough airstrips close to the front. In other words, it had to be both a long-haul truck and a bush plane at the same time. The result was a flying contradiction, an engineering marvel. The C-17 is massive, but everything about it is optimized for efficiency and control. Its wings use supercritical airfoil shaping, a design that reduces shockwave drag at high subsonic speeds while still generating enormous lift at low speeds. Combined with double-slotted flaps that extend deep into the aircraft, the C-17 can generate more than twice the lift of a clean wing when it's coming in to land. That's how a jet that weighs over 250 tons can land in less than 1,500 feet, even on dirt. Power comes from 4 Pratt & Whitney F117 turbofans, military versions of the PW2000 airliner engine. Each one produces more than 40,000 pounds of thrust, but the real magic is how efficiently they do it. With a bypass ratio of nearly 9-to-1, most of the air these engines move never even enters the combustion chamber. It just flows around it, generating thrust quietly and efficiently. That's why the C-17 can cruise at nearly Mach 0.8 while burning far less fuel than older Soviet-era designs. That efficiency matters. It means a C-17 can carry more than 77 tons of cargo over 2,000 miles without refueling. It means it can cross oceans, then descend into a forward base, unload, and take off again without stopping. And because it's air refuelable, it can keep going almost indefinitely. Inside, the C-17 is built like a flying warehouse. The cargo bay is nearly 900 cubic meters, wide and tall enough to swallow main battle tanks, helicopters, or dozens of pallets at once. An onboard crane system lets crews move heavy cargo without ground equipment. Tie-downs are built into the floor to lock down vehicles in seconds. A rear ramp allows roll-on, roll-off loading, airdrops, or even the ability to back up under its own thrust using reversible engines. But what really makes the C-17 special is not what it carries, it's how it survives. The aircraft is built around redundancy. Its flight controls use fly-by-wire systems with multiple backups. The hydraulics are split across separate systems. Its electronics are hardened and duplicated. Defensive suites include radar warning receivers, missile approach warning systems, chaff, flares, and infrared countermeasures. The engines are mixed with cool bypass air to reduce heat signature. Even the shape of the aircraft minimizes how much energy it reflects back to enemy radars. This is a transport designed to fly into contested airspace and keep flying. That philosophy has paid off. The C-17 operates at a mission readiness rate above 99%. It has flown into Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and Ukraine. It has delivered aid after earthquakes and armor before invasions. It can drop paratroopers one day and evacuate wounded the next. It's not glamorous, but it is indispensable. Russia's 76 comes from a very different lineage. The original 76 first flew in 1971, designed to support the Soviet Union's massive land-based armies. It needed to haul tanks, artillery, and troops across a country that spanned 11 time zones, often to airstrips that barely qualified as runways. That drove a different set of priorities. 76 was built rugged first, efficient second. You see that immediately in its structure. It uses a high-mounted wing that keeps engines and flaps far from debris on rough runways. Its landing gear is enormous, with multiple wheels that spread weight across soft ground. Its cockpit is armored. Its hydraulics are brutally overbuilt. It looks less like an airliner and more like a flying dump truck. And that's exactly what it was meant to be. For decades, 76 was powered by Solovyov D-30 turbofans. Low-bypass, thirsty engines that burned fuel at a prodigious rate but could handle abuse. They could ingest dust. They could run hot. They could be maintained in primitive conditions. But they also limited the aircraft's range and efficiency. The modern 76 MD-90A is Russia's attempt to bring this old workhorse into the 21st century. Its biggest upgrade is the PS-90A-76 engine. These are far more efficient turbofans, with digital engine controls, lower fuel burn, and far lower infrared signature. They increase thrust by roughly 30% over the old D-30s, while cutting fuel consumption dramatically. That allows 76 to carry heavier loads farther, up to around 60 tons, while cruising at similar speeds. The MD-90A also gets a modernized cockpit with glass displays, GPS and inertial navigation, collision avoidance systems, and better weather radar. New composites reduce weight. Defensive aids protect it from infrared guided missiles. In theory, it is a much more survivable aircraft than its Cold War ancestors. But even in its modern form, the 76 reflects Russia's doctrine. It is cheaper, far cheaper. One 76 MD-90A costs a fraction of the C-17. It is designed to be produced in numbers and used hard. It doesn't need pristine runways or massive logistics hubs. It can operate from rough fields, hot climates, and minimal support. It also has a narrower cargo bay and lower maximum payload than the C-17. It cannot match the American aircraft in efficiency or in systems integration. But it doesn't have to. Russia's military strategy is not about projecting power across the globe. It is about moving forces inside Eurasia, quickly, in large numbers, under fire. That is where 76 shines. In Syria, 76s flew non-stop to keep Russian bases supplied. In Ukraine, they have been used to shuttle equipment and evacuate wounded under threat. Their ruggedness makes them hard to kill on the ground and hard to stop in the air. When you put the two aircraft side by side, you see the philosophies collide. The C-17 is optimized for maximum payload, maximum efficiency, and maximum flexibility. It can carry nearly 20 tons more than the 76. It burns significantly less fuel per pound of thrust. It can land shorter and take off heavier. Its avionics and fly-by-wire systems give it precision that Soviet-era designs could never match. 76 counters with cost, simplicity, and sheer toughness. It's easier to build, easier to maintain, easier to operate from broken infrastructure. It sacrifices efficiency for resilience. And neither exists in a vacuum. China's Y-20 shows what happens when you merge Russian and American ideas. It looks like a C-17, but its early engines are derived from Russian designs. Its new WS-20 turbofans bring it closer to Western efficiency, but it is still catching up in reliability. Europe's A400M sits in the middle, using turboprops for unmatched short-field performance, but giving up payload and speed. Giants like the AN-124 and C-5M can carry twice what a C-17 can, but they need long runways and pristine infrastructure. All of these machines exist for one reason: to decide who gets to fight. In a war between major powers, the side that can move faster wins. Not just move weapons, but move repair crews, move radar parts, move fuel bladders, move hospitals. Missiles can destroy a base in minutes. Airlifters are what you let rebuild it in hours. This is why strategic transport is becoming more important, not less. As missiles get more precise and airspace gets more dangerous, airlifters must become stealthier, smarter, and more connected. Predictive maintenance keeps fleets flying. Satellite networks route aircraft around threats. Digital twins allow engineers to diagnose problems before they cause failures. Even hybrid propulsion and autonomous flight are being studied to reduce fuel use and crew risk. The C-17 represents the pinnacle of this philosophy. A machine built not just to carry weight, but to survive in a modern, contested sky. 76 represents a different truth, that sometimes sheer ruggedness is the most valuable technology of all. In the end, wars are not won by the sharpest sword. They are won by the army that keeps showing up. And in the sky, that army rides on the wings of strategic airlift. And that brings us to the end of our look into the machines that quietly decide how wars are fought. The aircraft that turn factories into firepower and distant bases into front lines. From America's ultra-efficient, globally connected C-17 fleet to Russia's rugged, hard-working Tu-76s and the new challenges rising in China and Europe, This is the real backbone of modern military power, not in the strike, but in the sustainment. Now it's your turn. Which approach do you think will matter more in the years ahead? The high-tech, networked airlift model of the US, or the rugged, mass-production logistics philosophy behind Russia's fleet? And if you've ever seen one of these aircraft up close, or even flown on one, share your experience in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden engines of modern warfare, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.